Michael Okafor was the kind of man most women prayed for. In his mid-30s, tall, soft-spoken, and successful, he carried the aura of a man who had built himself from the ground up. Born in Anambra State but raised in Lagos, he had risen from a humble background to become a well-known property developer in the city. His company handled estates, office complexes, and luxury apartments scattered across Lekki and Victoria Island. Money wasn't a problem for Michael, but humility was his badge of honor. He lived in a beautiful duplex in Ikoyi with his wife, Ada Obi, whom everyone simply called Ada. Ada was breathtakingly beautiful, the kind of woman who turned heads in a room without trying. She was 10 years younger than Michael, slim with a radiant smile and soft brown eyes that always seemed to conceal more than they revealed. When Michael married her 3 years ago, people said he had married a jewel. To the outside world, theirs was a perfect marriage. They attended church together on Sundays, hosted friends for dinner, and occasionally traveled abroad. Michael adored Ada and spoke proudly of her to anyone who cared to listen. But beneath the polished surface of their marriage, cracks had started to form. Cracks Michael either ignored or didn't notice. Ada had a restless spirit. She loved fine things, expensive perfumes, designer handbags, exclusive trips, and the kind of luxury lifestyle only money could sustain. Michael gave her more than enough, but in Ada's heart, enough was never truly enough. That was the dangerous seed that would later grow into betrayal. The one man Michael trusted completely was his best friend, Chika Nwosu. They had been friends since university, brothers in everything but blood. Cheek, too, was a successful businessman, though in the oil sector. If Michael was wealthy, Chike was wealthier. He lived in Banana Island, drove the latest cars, and had political connections that even Michael admired. Whenever the three of them were together, Michael, Ada, and Cheek, there was laughter, inside jokes, and warmth. To outsiders, they were the picture of modern friendship, supportive, inseparable, and loyal. Michael never imagined that in the heart of his home, betrayal was already sleeping in his bed. The first signs of trouble appeared so quietly that Michael brushed them off. Ada would return home later than usual, blaming her advertising firm for keeping her busy. "Michael, you don't understand this industry," she would say, dropping her handbag on the couch, her perfume trailing into the room. "Clients can call at any hour. If I want to keep my job, I have to play along." Michael never questioned her much. He believed her. He trusted her. But trust has a way of blinding the eyes that should see. It was Chika who first mentioned the matter of Ada's stress. "Mike," Cheek said one evening as they sipped whiskey in his Banana Island living room, "I don't think Ada is happy. She seems restless." Michael sighed. "She's young, Chike. Maybe I'm too old-fashioned. I give her what I can, but you know Ada? She likes life." Cheeky chuckled, but behind that laughter was something else, something Michael did not notice. For Ada, the friendship between her husband and Cheek was the perfect cover. Whenever she wanted to step out, she would say, "Michael, Chike invited me to an event his company is sponsoring. I'll just accompany him so your firm won't miss representation." Michael would nod, relieved that his wife was mingling with influential people. But in truth, Ada's bond with Chike had grown dangerously intimate. It started with harmless conversations, phone calls about business, jokes over drinks, friendly messages. But soon, Chike began to slip her small gifts, a designer wristwatch here, a weekend trip to Dubai there, all under the guise of networking opportunities. Ada's resistance was weak. She liked Michael's stability, but she loved Cheek's reckless generosity. One evening, Cheek drove her home after what Michael thought was a business dinner. Instead of dropping her at the gate, he lingered in the car. Ada looked at him nervously. "Chike, this is risky," she whispered. "Life itself is risky," he replied, brushing her cheek with his fingers. Don't pretend you don't feel this too." She hesitated, but temptation outweighed caution. That night marked the beginning of an affair that would eventually tear 3 families apart. Yet to Michael, nothing seemed out of place. His home still ran smoothly. Ada smiled at him, cooked dinner, and accompanied him to church. He was a proud husband, even more so when Ada announced her pregnancy a few months later. Michael was overjoyed. "God has blessed us, Ada," he said, holding her close. "You've made me the happiest man alive." But Ada's heart was heavy with secrets. Deep down, she knew the father of the child, or rather children, was not Michael, but his best friend. Pregnancy changed Ada, but not in the way Michael expected. She became distant, her mood swinging between irritability and false cheerfulness. Michael assumed it was hormones. He bought her anything she craved, from midnight shawarma to imported prenatal vitamins. He even hired a private driver so she wouldn't stress herself on Lagos roads. To Ada, all of this kindness felt like chains tightening around her neck. She was grateful for Michael's care, but every time she remembered Cheek's whisper in her ear, "You're carrying my blood," her chest tightened. Cheeky, on the other hand, played his role well. Whenever Michael was around, he acted like the supportive friend, cracking jokes, bringing fruits for Ada, even suggesting names for the baby. No one suspected a thing. It was during the 5th month of pregnancy that Ada's lies grew bolder. "Darling," she told Michael one evening over dinner, "my company wants to send me on a short training in South Africa. Just 1 week. They'll cover everything." Michael frowned. "But you're pregnant. Can't they wait?" "It's urgent. And besides," she added quickly, "Cheek's firm is also sending representatives. I won't be alone." Michael relaxed at the mention of his best friend. "All right, if Cheek will be there, then I'm at peace." What Michael didn't know was that the so-called training was actually a romantic getaway. Cheeky and Ada spent those 7 days in Cape Town, enjoying sunsets, luxury spas, and each other. Ada posted carefully edited pictures online, pretending they were work-related. When she returned, Michael noticed her glowing more than usual. "You look refreshed," he said, kissing her forehead. Ada smiled weakly. "The company really took care of us." Months later, she went into labor. To everyone's surprise, she gave birth to twin boys. Michael was ecstatic. He danced in the hospital corridor, calling friends and family, shouting praises. He named them Chiamaka and Chukwudi, grateful to God for double blessings. But deep down, Ada's heart raced with a fear she could not shake. She knew those boys bore the bloodline of another man. Cheeky, when he came to visit at the hospital, could hardly hide his emotions. He stared at the babies with a strange mixture of pride and guilt. His hand brushed against Ada's as he whispered, "They have my eyes." Ada jerked her hand back quickly, afraid Michael might notice. But Michael, overwhelmed with joy, saw nothing. He only saw his future as a father. For the next few years, Michael poured himself into fatherhood. He spared no expense. The twins attended one of the best Montessori schools in Victoria Island, wore imported clothes, and had a nanny plus a private tutor. Ada, however, was slowly unraveling. She wanted more money, more freedom, more of Chike's lavish attention. And Chike, though married with 2 kids of his own, never stopped fueling her desires. What Ada didn't realize was that secrets have an expiry date, and hers was counting down. The twins grew fast, filling Michael's life with joy. Their laughter echoed through the spacious Ikoyi duplex, their tiny footsteps pattered across marble floors, and their endless questions made him proud to be a father. Michael's weekends were dedicated to them. He would take them to parks, buy them ice cream at ShopRite, and drive them to children's parties. He doted on them so much that his friends often teased him, "Mike, you've turned to houseboy for these boys, oh." He would laugh and reply, "When you wait this long for children, you'll understand." But not everyone was blind. Michael's mother once remarked that the twins didn't resemble him much. My son," she said during a family gathering, squinting at the boys. "Their nose, their smile, they look different." Michael laughed it off. "Mama, children take after extended families sometimes. Don't worry." Ada, standing nearby, felt her stomach twist. She quickly excused herself, hiding in the kitchen until the wave of guilt passed. Meanwhile, Cheeky became bolder. He would drop by the house with expensive toys, new clothes, even tablets for the twins. "Uncle Chike is too generous," Michael once said, clapping his friend on the back. "God bless you, my brother." Ada could hardly look Chike in the eye whenever Michael praised him. For Chike, however, every visit was a secret triumph. His children were being raised under another man's roof, yet he had free access to them. Things took a sharp turn when the twins turned 5. Cheek called Ada late one evening. "Ada, we need to talk," he said firmly. "About what?" she whispered, glancing at Michael, who was asleep in their bedroom. "The boys. They're mine. I can't keep pretending. I want them." Ada's hand trembled so much that she nearly dropped the phone. "Are you mad? Do you want to destroy me? Do you want to destroy us?" Cheek was silent for a moment before replying, "Sooner or later, the truth will come out. Prepare yourself." From that night, Ada's behavior changed. She became easily irritable, snapping at Michael for little things. Michael noticed, but instead of confronting her, he assumed stress was getting to her. One evening, during dinner, Ada deliberately picked a fight. "Michael, why don't you ever listen to me? Why must everything be done your way?" she shouted, slamming her fork down. Michael was stunned. "Ada, what's wrong with you? Why are you shouting over nothing?" But Ada didn't stop. She stormed out of the dining room, leaving Michael confused. What he didn't know was that this outburst was carefully planned. Ada needed an excuse, a distraction, because she was already plotting her escape. That night's dinner was supposed to be ordinary, just rice and stew with fried plantain, the twins giggling between bites. But for Ada, it was the moment she had been rehearsing in her head for weeks. Her phone had buzzed earlier in the day with a message from Cheek. "I can't wait any longer. Tomorrow I'm coming for my sons. Make sure you're ready." Her heart had pounded all afternoon. She knew what it meant. Time was up. The walls were closing in, and she had to make her move before Michael began asking questions she could no longer answer. So, as the family sat at the dining table, Ada searched for a spark to light the fire. "Michael," she said suddenly, her voice sharp, "why haven't you fixed the car I've been complaining about? Am I supposed to keep driving a death trap?" Michael looked up, startled. "Ada, I told you the mechanic is working on it. Why are you shouting? The car is fine." "Fine?" she snapped, cutting him off. "You never take my concerns seriously. Everything has to be on your terms. I'm tired, Michael. I'm not your prisoner." The twins went silent, sensing tension. Michael glanced at them and lowered his tone. "Ada, not in front of the children. We can discuss this later." But Ada was relentless. "No, we'll discuss it now. You think because you provide money, you can control my life? I'm not some doll you picked from the market." Her words pierced Michael like thorns. He sat there, stunned, wondering how a simple issue about the car had turned into accusations about control and freedom. "Where is this coming from?" he asked softly. "Ada, I've given you everything. What else do you want from me?" Ada pushed her chair back violently, the screech echoing through the dining room. "You'll never understand." She stormed upstairs, leaving Michael with the twins, who were now on the verge of tears. He sighed deeply, carrying them away to their room. That night, he slept in the guest room, giving Ada space to cool down. He didn't know it was the last night he would ever sleep under the same roof with her. The next morning, Michael dressed for work as usual. He peeped into the bedroom. Ada was still under the covers, facing away from him. He didn't want to provoke her, so he quietly left the house after kissing the twins goodbye. By the time he returned that evening, The house was eerily silent. The nanny was gone. Ada was gone. The twins were gone. Every trace of them had vanished, like dust swept by the wind. On the dining table lay a short note in Ada's handwriting. "Don't look for me. This is my decision." Michael read the note over and over, his heart thundering in his chest. He collapsed into the chair, gripping his head with both hands. Nothing in his life had prepared him for this moment. His wife and children had disappeared, without a trace, and deep down, though he didn't yet know the full truth, his spirit told him that something darker than a marital quarrel was unfolding. Michael's first reaction was disbelief. He searched every corner of the duplex, as if Ada and the twins were hiding, waiting to jump out and laugh at him. He called out their names, Ada, Chiemeka, Chukwudi, but only silence answered. He ran to the nanny's quarters. Empty. Their clothes, their toys, even their school bags were gone. Ada had planned this carefully. Michael dialed her number, his hands trembling. It rang once, twice, then went dead. Switched off. For the first time in years, panic seized his chest. He called the school. "Good evening, sir," the receptionist said. "Please, have my boys been dropped off today?" "Yes, but their mother picked them up early, around noon." Michael's knees weakened. He dropped the call and sat on the stairs, his mind spiraling. What could make Ada take such a drastic step? By midnight, he was at the police station filing a missing persons report. The officers, unimpressed, listened half-heartedly. "Sir, if your wife left a note, then it's not kidnap," one officer explained. "She left willingly. This is a domestic issue." "A domestic issue?" Michael exploded. "She took my children. She's my wife." "Calm down, Olga. We'll investigate," the officer replied, scribbling lazily into a file. Days turned into weeks. Michael searched everywhere. Ada's family house in Enugu, her friends' apartments in Lekki, even her old office colleagues. No one knew where she was. Or if they did, they weren't saying. Meanwhile, the twins' absence hollowed his home. Their toys lay scattered, their laughter replaced with silence. Michael found himself sitting in their empty bedroom, staring at their little beds, wondering what had gone wrong. Ada only reached out once. A brief text message appeared on his phone one afternoon. "Michael, please stop sending the police after me. I'm fine, the boys are fine. We don't need anything from you. Just respect my decision." But Michael refused to let go. He continued sending her monthly allowances, paying school fees through an anonymous account she provided. Deep down, he believed she would eventually return. What he didn't know was that Ada had not run away alone. Cheek was behind it all. The very day Ada disappeared, Cheeky had called her. "It's time," he said. "Pack everything. I'll send a driver. We're moving them." And just like that, Ada stepped out of her marriage and into a secret arrangement that would one day collapse like a house of cards. For years, Michael lived in confusion, clinging to hope. He poured himself into work, built more estates, earned more money, but at night, he lay awake, replaying that last dinner argument, wondering what had really driven his wife away. The truth, however, was still waiting, patient, merciless, and sharp enough to break him completely. Time is a cruel teacher. 2 years passed, then 3, then 5. Michael's life on the outside looked perfect. His company expanded into Abuja and Port Harcourt. He bought a new mansion in Ikoyi, and magazines occasionally featured him as one of Lagos's most eligible, wealthy bachelors, since Ada was no longer in the picture. But inside, Michael was broken. Though Ada had vanished, she never fully cut him off. She created a system, an anonymous email account, a bank account with no names attached, through which she occasionally communicated. Every school term, she would send invoices, tuition, uniforms, excursions. Michael paid them all, never once questioning the legitimacy. He told himself, "Even if she left me, the boys are mine. I can't let them suffer. And so, while he never saw his sons in person, he continued to fund their lives, believing that someday, somehow, Ada would forgive him and return. What he didn't know was that Ada wasn't struggling at all. She was living in another part of Lagos, comfortably sustained not only by his money, but also by Chike's secret support. Chike would visit when he could, usually at night, sometimes whisking Ada and the twins away to hotels or private resorts. To Ada, it felt like having two men providing for her at once. Michael unknowingly paying the bills, Chike giving her the attention and luxury she craved. But the arrangement wasn't as smooth as it looked. Chike was still married to Ifunanya, a sharp, intelligent woman who had begun noticing the cracks. Chike's frequent absences, unexplained expenses, and secret phone calls had stirred suspicion. One evening, after he returned late smelling faintly of Ada's perfume, Ifunanya confronted him. "Chike, who is she?" she demanded, blocking his path. "What nonsense are you talking about?" he barked. "You think I don't see? You think I don't know you're hiding something?" Chike brushed past her, but the seed of doubt had been planted. Meanwhile, Michael continued to live in ignorance. Whenever his friends urged him to move on, he would shake his head. "How do I move on when my wife is out there with my children? I can't abandon them." Yet in the privacy of his heart, a silent question gnawed at him. Why did Ada really leave? He often replayed that last dinner fight. It didn't make sense. Could it be another man? No, Ada wasn't like that. At least that's what he convinced himself. But truth has a way of rising, like smoke from a fire, and when it came, it would shatter every illusion he had carefully built. Ifunanya had been married to Chike for nearly 10 years. She was no fool. She knew her husband loved luxury, loved power, and occasionally entertained distractions, but she had always believed she was the anchor of his home, until she stumbled on the truth. It happened by accident one Saturday morning. Chike had left his phone charging in the living room while he took a shower. A message popped up on WhatsApp, and curiosity pulled Ifunanya's eyes toward it. It was a photo. Two boys dressed in school uniforms, smiling at the camera. The caption read, "Your sons are growing fast. We need to talk about their future." Ifunanya froze. Sons? She clicked the chat and scrolled through months of conversations. Ada's name staring back at her, accompanied by heart emojis, promises, and secret plans. Her stomach twisted. Her breath grew shallow. But the real blow came when she compared the photo of the boys to her husband's childhood photos in their family album. The resemblance was undeniable. Her hands trembled as she whispered to herself, "Jesus Christ, they're his." When Chike came out of the shower, towel around his waist, Ifunanya was waiting, his phone in her hand. "Who are they?" she demanded, her voice low but sharp. Chike froze, water dripping down his shoulders. He opened his mouth, closed it, then stammered, "Ifunanya, it's not what you think." "Not what I think?" she snapped, hurling the phone at him. "You fathered children with Ada, Michael's wife, your best friend's wife?" Chike tried to calm her, but Ifunanya was done listening. The betrayal was too deep. Tears rolled down her face as she whispered, "You've disgraced me, Chike. You've disgraced us all." That night, she did something that would change everything. She went online. With trembling fingers, she uploaded the screenshots, Chike's messages to Ada, the photos of the twins, even voice notes where he casually mentioned "my boys." She posted them across Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter, tagging popular gossip blogs. By morning, the story was everywhere. Business mogul father's twins with best friend's wife. Banana Island scandal, oil tycoon exposed. Social media erupted. Memes flew, hashtags trended, and the Okafor and Nwosu families became the subject of nationwide gossip. Michael woke up to dozens of missed calls and messages. Confused, he opened Instagram, and his world shattered. There, staring back at him, were the faces of his beloved twins, labeled not as his children, but as Cheeks. He dropped the phone, his heart pounding so loud it echoed in his ears. No, this can't be true, he muttered, staggering backward. But deep down, in a place he had long ignored, the truth was already carving into his soul. The children he had loved, raised, and sacrificed for were not his. Michael spent the entire morning in shock. His phone buzzed nonstop, family members, business partners, even journalists wanting a statement. But he could barely breathe, let alone speak. He locked himself in his study, staring at the photos on social media. The twins' faces, so familiar, now carried a different weight. Their smiles mocked him, their resemblance to Cheek screamed at him. His mind replayed everything. The strange way Chike lingered around them, the expensive gifts, Ada's mysterious trips, the sudden dinner fight before she vanished. The puzzle pieces clicked into place, forming a picture he had refused to see. When his mother called, her voice was filled with anguish. "My son, I warned you, didn't I? I said those children don't look like you." Oh, God. Michael couldn't answer. He simply ended the call and buried his face in his palms. That evening, he drank for the first time in years. Glass after glass of whiskey burned his throat, but the pain inside refused to dull. He thought about Ada, her beauty, her lies, her betrayal. He thought about Cheeky, the brother he had trusted with his life. And he thought about himself, the fool who had been financing another man's children. 3 days later, Ada called. "Michael, I can explain," she said quickly, her voice trembling. "Explain?" His voice was raw. "For years, I begged God to bless us. I thanked him for giving me twins. I worked, I sacrificed, I gave you everything, and you let me raise another man's children. My best friend's children. Michael, please. Don't say my name," he shouted, slamming his fist against the table. "How could you do this to me, Ada? To us?" Silence hung between them. Finally, Ada whispered, "I didn't plan it. It just happened. But I love my boys. Whatever you think of me, don't punish them." Michael's chest heaved as he struggled to breathe. The betrayal cut so deep that even his anger felt empty. He ended the call without another word. For days, he withdrew from the world. His employees ran the company, his friends stopped calling, and he barely left the house. The once confident, ambitious man now looked like a shadow. He had lost his wife, his children, his best friend, and even his pride. But the worst was yet to come, because Cheek, in a final act of betrayal, was about to disappear with the twins, leaving both Ada and Michael in ruins. The scandal was still raging online when Cheeky made his move. His reputation was in tatters. His wife Ifunanya had left him and taken their daughters to her parents' house in Enugu, and business associates were quietly distancing themselves. But Cheeky wasn't thinking about damage control. He was thinking about ownership. One night, he arrived at Ada's apartment in Victoria Island unannounced. She opened the door, startled. "Cheek, what are you doing here? It's late." He pushed past her, his face hard. "Pack their things." "Whose things?" she asked, her voice shaking. "The boys. My boys. I'm taking them with me. This circus is out of control. I won't have them dragged through the mud while you sit here hiding." Ada's eyes widened. "Are you mad? They're all I have left. You can't just take them from me." But Cheek had already gone into the bedroom, waking the twins. "Come on, boys, Daddy's here. We're going on a trip." The 5-year-olds, half asleep, rubbed their eyes and followed him. To them, Cheek was uncle, but they had grown used to his visits, his gifts, his authority. Ada clung to the doorway, sobbing. "Cheek, don't do this to me. You promised. You said we'd raise them together." He turned to her coldly. "I never promised forever, Ada. I promised to take care of my sons, and right now, Staying here with you is dangerous for them. You're reckless, you're exposed, and you've dragged their names into scandal. I won't let you destroy them the way you destroyed Michael." With that, he walked out, the twins trailing behind him. Ada collapsed on the floor, screaming, "Cheek, please, don't take my children!" But he was gone. By the next morning, neither Ada nor Michael could reach him. His phones were switched off, his Banana Island mansion locked, and his staff dismissed. Rumors spread that he had moved to Port Harcourt. Others claimed Abuja, but the truth was more sinister. Chike had relocated to another city entirely, under a new identity, with the twins by his side. Neither Ada nor Michael ever saw the boys again. Michael heard about it 2 weeks later. When Ada came to his office, her face swollen from crying, she fell to her knees. "Michael, help me," she begged. "Cheek took them. He won't answer my calls. He's gone with my sons." Michael stared at her with hollow eyes. "Your sons?" he repeated slowly. "You mean his sons, not mine." Ada wept harder, clutching at his feet. But Michael pulled away, his voice flat. "You chose him, Ada. You chose money, trips, and lies. Now you see what betrayal gives you in the end." He turned his back on her and walked away. For the first time, Ada realized she had lost everything: her husband, her lover, and now even her children. And Michael, though still broken, began to understand that sometimes love is not about holding on, but about knowing when to let go. Months passed, and the scandal slowly faded from the headlines. New gossip replaced it. New scandals captured attention, and people eventually moved on. But for the three people at the center of it, life would never be the same. Ada became a shadow of herself. Without the twins, she drifted from one apartment to another, surviving on scraps of the money Cheeky had once lavished on her. Her beauty, once her weapon, no longer opened the same doors. Friends who had once envied her now whispered behind her back. She had gambled away her home, her respect, and her motherhood. Michael rebuilt his life slowly. He poured his grief into work, spending long hours in his office, avoiding questions about his personal life. Outwardly, he remained successful, but those who knew him well noticed the change. The laughter was gone. The sparkle in his eyes dimmed. He trusted fewer people, spoke less, and lived like a man scarred by betrayal. Yet he found strength in faith. His pastor once told him, "Michael, sometimes God removes people from your life not because they're bad for you, but because their path will destroy you." Slowly, Michael began to accept the truth. The twins were never his. Ada had never truly been his. But his future could still be rebuilt if he chose forgiveness over bitterness. Cheek, meanwhile, lived in hiding. Though he had the twins, he could never flaunt them openly. His wealth had bought him a new life in another city, but peace of mind eluded him. The boys grew, but he was haunted by guilt, by the knowledge that he had betrayed the only true friend he ever had. And even his new fortune could not erase the loneliness that crept in every night. Years later, the story was still told in hushed tones at social gatherings. The rich man whose wife ran away with his best friend, the children who were raised in secrecy, the scandal that destroyed 3 lives. But those who listened closely always heard Michael's own words when asked how he survived it all. "I learned that betrayal doesn't kill you, it teaches you. It teaches you to be careful whom you trust, to never worship beauty or wealth, and above all, to never build your happiness on someone else's lies. Cheating is never just about 2 adults. It destroys homes, shatters trust, and leaves innocent children caught in the wreckage of decisions they never made. Loyalty and honesty are the true foundations of marriage, not wealth or beauty. No matter how tempting betrayal may seem, its fruits are always bitter. When trust is broken, it may never be restored. And when love is built on lies, it is destined to collapse. In the end, it is better to nurture what you have faithfully than to lose everything while chasing what was never meant to be yours." If you enjoyed this African story filled with betrayal, suspense, and life lessons, don't forget to like, share, and subscribe for more gripping story times. Every story here carries a truth, and every truth carries a lesson. See you in the next story.